What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another review. This time we're taking a look at Stepfather 3, directed by Guy Magera. Alright, let's waste no time. Let's get into it. I think Stepfather 3 is the worst entry into the Stepfather series. Not because I think this movie is bad, but because I think this movie is just very tedious and boring. Yeah, I thought Stepfather 3 was boring. And one of the major faults that this movie has going for it was that it did not feature the return of Terry O'Quinn. He is replaced by Robert Whitman. Now, I'll say this. I got nothing against Robert Reitman as an actor. I haven't seen him in anything prior to this movie. But with that being said, he is a poor substitute for Terry O'Quinn. All the subtlety and all the nuance that Terry O'Quinn brought to the role, Robert Reitman tries to emulate that, and he just doesn't fit the role. This man's acting is just so... he's doing a very bad imitation of what Terry O'Quinn did, and it clearly shows that he's the weakest part of this movie. In order for the Stepfather to work, the actor playing the titular role needs to work. Hence why Terry O'Quinn in Stepfather 1 and 2, those movies worked to a certain extent because you had Terry O'Quinn, who was able to balance out the psychological nature of the character. Robert Reitman, he doesn't have any of those qualities. He's just a very stock and boring actor. Like Robert Reitman, he's the type of guy that will work in sitcoms. Now, to the best of my knowledge, he was in a sitcom called The Waltons, a show before my time that I've never seen. So I'm sure Reitman is great in that show. I wouldn't know. I've never seen it. I don't have any interest in seeing it. I'm just going based off what I saw in this. And what I saw in this, I thought he's definitely one of the worst aspects of this movie. He's doing a pale imitation of Terry O'Quinn. He doesn't have O'Quinn's charisma. He doesn't have that commanding presence. He has absolutely nothing. His acting comes across as very just emotionless and robotic. And whenever this man does show rage, it's like a preteen boy showing rage. Like it's really laughable in a lot of areas. Not only that, the way that Jerry Blake is written in this movie, it does not feel like the same character whatsoever. So first and foremost, the Stepfather is now going by an alias known as Keith Grant. And at the beginning of the movie, he does facial reconstruction. Of course, this was done to pretty much say that, yes, Terry O'Quinn is not back. So at least there's an in-movie explanation as to why it's a new actor playing the role. I am okay with that. Okay, I'll let that slide. I'll let it slide. These movies got to the point where the only way for this man to go undetected is for him to get facial reconstruction. So I'll give you that. It's just what this movie does with his character is what makes me scratch my head. All right, so he meets this woman played by Priscilla Barnes and her son. All right, there's courtship, they get married, whatever. Weeks after getting married, he meets this other woman in the same town and starts a relationship with her. This is where the movie starts to lose me, because in the first movie, yes, Jerry Blake does start another relationship with another woman, but he does it in a town in the next town over from where he is actually in. So that way there's no intertwine, and that way there's no chance of his two victims having any sort of relationship with each other. In this movie, they both live in the same town. His wife's the school principal. His hidden girlfriend goes to that school to enroll her son, and they meet. This does not sound like Jerry Blake. Jerry Blake, in the first two Stepfather movies, he's extremely careful. He's very calculating. He's very articulate. Like, he knows what he knows. He's always thinking. He's like playing a game of chess and using the human beings around him as pawns, as the chess pieces. This iteration of the character feels like a completely different character, and just because you have a different actor playing the character, that doesn't mean that the character automatically has to change, because it doesn't. We're following Jerry Blake / Keith Grant. He is basically he's the titular stepfather. Like, if you're gonna make a third Stepfather movie, at least have a completely isolated character and someone different, and not continue the story, because by continuing the story, you're making changes to Blake's character that just seem out of whack and they don't make any sense. Like, there's certain scenes where he just shows no emotion whatsoever. Like, for example, there's this character of a priest who has a very grandfatherly relationship with with the stepson, Andy. Now, mind you, I actually like the relationship with the priest and the stepson. It actually has a grandfather-grandson type of feel to it. And the priest is the only person that actually, he doesn't all the way believe Andy and his suspicions of Keith, but he goes along with it. And and this eventually leads to the priest's death. On the morning of the funeral, Keith has like this, is acting like as if nothing ever happened. At least in the first two movies, when tragedy struck, he at least put on the facade of being a caring person and actually playing into the hurt feelings of his family. This version of Keith, he doesn't do any of that. He's acting like it's a normal day because, hey, it's Father's Day. That means it's my day. Completely disconnected from what came before it, and I don't like it. The writing of this movie is laughably bad. And like I said, Robert Reitman, I got nothing against him as an actor. He's just being directed badly, or his acting is just not great. Speaking of not great, out of all three Stepfather movies, this is the one that has the weakest of all the acting. I don't think any actor in this movie put in a decent performance. They put in like these mediocre made-for-TV performances where you can tell that they're just not taking the material seriously, and they're just sleepwalking all throughout this thing. Now, in order to make up with that, you have to pretty much turn this movie into a slasher, which is something that the second movie really leaned into by having it be more slasher than as opposed to a psychological horror. And I'll give this movie this: if you're not going to give me interesting characters, if you're not going to take the stepfather and if you're not going to have the stepfather, be his true self as he was in the first two movies, then at least have entertaining kills. And at least this movie has some pseudo entertaining kills. Again, pseudo entertaining kills, because they're not really all that great. They're basically recreations of the first movie. Like this movie does feel like an overall remake of the first movie, because the kid Andy acts just like the teenage daughter from the first movie, in which automatically suspicious of her stepfather. It's almost beat for beat. The only thing is that movie was a nice, tightly paced 90 minutes. This movie goes nearly 2 hours, and it feels like it's just dragging its feet and just takes it and just plots along in a very sluggish way. Like, this is a very, very sluggish movie to sit through because it goes at a snail's pace. It seems to me, and maybe it's that way because the acting is just there's not really any good enough acting to keep you enthralled. I know that the suspense is not all the way there. It's maybe there are certain scenes that are decent, but nothing to really write home about. Again, some of the kills in this movie are mildly entertaining, like when Keith kills the priest in a car explosion. That was okay. Where he kills his boss at a plant nursery, that was okay. Like, at least they leaned into the whole slasher aspect. Like, I kind of like the scene where he kills his plastic surgeon with an electric drill or like an electric razor or something like that. That was okay. Like, at least the movie did have some decent kills, and I do like how the stepfather is actually defeated at the end of the movie, where Jen and his current wife team up together and basically kill him by throwing him into a wood chipper, officially ending him. So that was okay. The whole mystery aspect of the son Andy trying to prove that his stepfather really is Jerry Blake, the family killer. That whole plot, that was okay. I mean, it could have been done better if it was better written, but it was okay for what it was. Like, this movie does not have enough juice for me to really care. And it's really a shame because, if you had Terry O'Quinn and if you brought back the team for the first movie, maybe a third movie with this character could have worked as a proper send-off. We'll never know because it never happened. In terms of what we got, I think this is just a flat send-off to the character of Jerry Blake, the stepfather, who deserved much better. Not only did he deserve much better, this movie sorely misses Terry O'Quinn, and you can tell it misses Terry O'Quinn. I can't stress enough that fact. So yeah, with all that being said, I'm just going to give Stepfather 3 a solid. I'm going to give it a 4 out of 10. Listen, it's not unwatchable, but it's just not great either. When you compare this to what came before it, those first two movies blow this out of the water. And that's all I can say. 4 out of 10 for Stepfather 3. Let me know your thoughts in the comment sections down below. Like the video and subscribe, and I'll check you back next time for more.